Not finance, not strategy, not technology. It is teamwork that remains the ultimate competitive advantage, both because it is so powerful and so rare. Hey everybody, welcome to Between Sundays with Brian Hughes. That was a quote from Patrick Lencioni from his highly influential book, 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. We'll get back to that. But if you're listening to this, you are starting a new series, a new journey with us on leadership. Before I go any further, though, Brian, hi. How are you?
Hey, I'm great.
Feeling good?
Really good. I'm really excited about this next series.
Good. Well, it's on leadership, as I just said. We just finished our first one on marriage. So if this is your first episode, highly encourage you to go back, listen to that, especially sort of our introductory episode so you know how the rhythm's going to go, but also just the whole series on marriage because it was great. And thank you to everybody who has already listened to it and continuing this journey with us. We're going to pivot this week as we embark on this journey on leadership, which is something you are very passionate about. Working with you over all these years, I've seen it in you. And just as a way to kind of kick off, just about leadership in general, I have a question for you.
Oh, okay.
What is it that actually makes you so passionate about leadership? Because again, having observed you and worked with you, it's not just something you believe in because you have to as the leader of an organization.
Right.
It's not like just a necessary thing. You actually deeply care about leadership and what it entails. Why is that? Answer that as we kick off this series.
I can answer that. So some people view leadership like it's a hobby. So now, you got these people, they're playing pickleball. It's become like a thing.
Yeah, yep.
And for a while, and this is still a thing, right? They play cornhole, or some people jog, or they play video games, or whatever. It's a hobby. And so people say, well, Brian's passionate about leadership because it's just one of those things he likes. It's just his thing. I couldn't disagree more. Nothing significant happens in the world, in human history, without leadership.
Yeah.
Every organization, every movement, everything of significance rises or falls on leadership. And so without it, nothing significant happens. You couldn't honestly name something that moved the world in a small way or a large way without leadership.
Right.
So if you want to live a life of significance, and if you want to build anything of significance, then leadership is, everything rises and falls on leadership. Mm-hmm. That's why I'm so passionate about it, because you can't change the world without it.
Yeah.
And Jesus modeled leadership as well as better than anyone ever. But the point is that it was at the center of his life and at the center of his ministry. And if I want to be like Jesus, I got to care about that. So
yeah, absolutely. And you've modeled that very well, as all leaders do. I'm sure there are some things you can change, you would change.
Sure.
Some things you feel like you did really well. We'll probably get to some of that down the road.
Yep.
But I know specifically one of the highlights of your leadership, probably because I've been a beneficiary of it, is your emphasis on how leaders rise and fall with the quality of the team that surrounds them.
Yes.
Right. So that's really what we're going to focus on today.
Yep.
Is leadership, but also how that fits into the framework of a team that actually enables leadership to do what leadership needs to do.
Yes.
Because to your point, nothing of significance happens without leadership and leaders actually stepping up, but no leader becomes significant without the team that supports them.
Well, that's right. So first, let's define leadership. So John Maxwell says, leadership is influence, nothing more and nothing less. Leadership is influence, nothing more and nothing less. So everyone has some level of influence. Therefore, everyone has some level of leadership. So Maxwell says, if you think you're leading and no one is following, then you're just a guy taking a walk by himself and lying to himself about it.
Right.
So leadership inherently has someone following you. Someone's going with you under your leadership. It's by definition. Leadership is influence, which means you're influencing other people around you. And in order to really accomplish something of significance to scale, you have to be able to assemble and lead a team. And there are lots of components of that. I want to just step back for a second and talk about sort of 3 layers. I've been thinking about this a lot lately. that if I had to put leadership in buckets, I would say first there's self-leadership, and this is the hardest kind of leadership. Then there is team leadership, which is really where I think the most fun of leadership is. We're going to talk a lot about that today. Then there is organizational movement leadership, which steps beyond the team because you have to have strategy and structure to it. This is where you talk about leading leaders of leaders, and it's much bigger than just the team. You can't scale without thinking about organizational leadership. So there's individual, there's self-leadership, team leadership, and then scaled leadership that is organizational and structure. And we're going to talk today about the team side of that.
Yeah. So, like I said a moment ago, you've really cared about that since the beginning. You've tried really hard over not just your tenure here at PCC. Of course, that's what I am familiar with. But even before that, as you've led, similar to how you talked about in marriage with Susan, I feel like you've always kind of intrinsically known that having the right team was going to enable you to do what you feel like God was calling you to in this instance of PCC. But how did you initially start building this team? Like, talk about some of the things that actually mattered to you, if you can think about back then when you were first forming the team that some people are still on today. What were the things you knew you needed to have in the team?
Well, there's one thing that I needed to be able to convey that I then needed the person on my team to possess, and it had to do with vision. So any competent leader must be able to cast clear, compelling, concise vision. And I talk about this a lot. We probably should unpack that just as a component in itself in another session. But the leader has to be able to clearly, concisely cast a compelling vision to someone. This is where you say, this is what we're trying to accomplish. This is how we're changing the world. And it has to be motivating for the person listening to it, because the ultimate result that you want is for that person to say, how can I be a part of that? I want to be a part of that. Sign me up for that. I've had more than one leader who invited me to speak into their leadership in another organization. I remember this one person, and we're partners with them, and really great, really important organization. They're doing amazing work. It's not a part of our church. I mean, where they're connected. And as she had this idea, and it was a really compelling idea, and so she sat in my office. She said, "I've been asking people to join my team, but nobody says yes." And I said, "Well, tell me." I said, make me the pitch. She said, what? I said, just ask me. Tell me what you're trying to accomplish and ask me to be a part of it.
Yeah.
And so she stumbled around for 3 or 4 minutes and didn't say any. I mean, it was. And so when she was done, I just sat there and listened. I smiled. When she was done, I leaned up and I said, well, that sucked. And she said, I know.
Yeah.
She said, I know it. And I said, would you like me to help you? She said, yeah. So I said, let me help you. You have to be able to bring your vision down to something you can cast clearly, concisely. They don't need all the details. They just need it's a hook. Can I get you excited about what I'm trying to accomplish? Is it something of significance? The end result is for you to say yes. Now, you asked what was important for me as a member of the team. Once I cast that vision and somebody's excited about it, they catch it, they see it, they understand it. I need people on my team who are so excited and so bought into that vision that they will do whatever it takes to make that happen. The people that are on my team today, including you, have figuratively and would still figuratively walk through fire to make our mission happen. We believe in it. The people on my team believe in it so much that they will do whatever it takes to make it happen. That's the kind of person I want on my team. That they're fully committed to it. So there's that. Then the other thing is, there has to be a level of chemistry.
Yeah.
And this is the kind of the unspoken thing, and nobody likes to talk about it because it sounds like, you're playing favorites, or, there's certain people you like and certain people you don't. But that's not really what it is at all. Chemistry is a function of who is it easy to be around. This isn't about assigning, intrinsic value. This is about simply saying, is this person somebody I can hang out with? Do I like being around them? Do they do I feel like I have to walk on eggshells? We all know there are people in our lives where we feel like, I always have to do this dance and wonder if I say this thing the wrong way, am I going to pay a price for it? Am I going to have a meltdown? I put people on my team that over time will build some trust. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. And we get to the place, I know this person is a person where we're going to get to the place where I can just be me, like completely raw, let my hair down figuratively, and just be me. And there are times when you've been in meetings where I've just really gotten bent out of shape. Now, I don't throw things, I don't punch, I don't cuss at people, I don't do any of that stuff. But I just need a place where I can feel like I can authentically just vent, come unglued, do the things, get it out of my system, and not feel like I have to manage everybody's emotion in the room. Like we're all good.
Yeah, we'll be good.
We're going to be good. And that's really important. Now, you cultivate that over time, but when you're selecting that person, you got to get a sense of, is this person somebody that I can do that with?
Yeah.
And I think that's really important. There's also the concept of competency. Like I've got to have people on my team that have a level of competency in terms of their own leadership and the skill that I'm asking them to serve in. The area of expertise that I'm asking them to be. But to be on my team, I think the biggest things are they have to be bought in, like completely bought into what we're trying to accomplish. They don't have a hidden agenda. They're not trying to move their own thing around. They're bought into what I have cast vision for. And we have to have some chemistry. Like this is somebody I can enjoy hanging out with just doing some life with.
Yeah. And I think as this series goes on, we'll get into, because there's so many avenues you could take from what you were just talking about, how you find those people. What does it actually mean to say I'm with you, but argue, what I mean? Like all that. I'm sure we'll get into all that as the series goes on. But you mentioned a second ago, and we opened with this quote from Patrick Lencioni. I'm going to speak for you in this case.
Go ahead.
Because I think I happen to know. Probably one of the most influential team books you've ever read, Five Dysfunctions of a Team.
I think it's the most
influential.
Yes.
And, if you know anything about leadership or any of those guys out there, I'm sure you've heard his name. We've been influenced greatly by him and his work. This episode isn't going to be his book review, but we chose that quote and that book specifically because you wanted to talk about the idea of trust. He argues in the book that being able to have a vulnerability-based trust with your team is like the core to a great team.
It is the foundational piece.
And it's what makes, as he said in the quote, teams like this so rare.
Yeah.
Teams that can find it.
Yes.
So you wanted to spend some time talking about that component. I'd be curious to hear, A, the parts you agree with him on there, which I'm sure of all of them, but just explain those a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
B, a team that you feel like you're on here that has that, which of course I know the answer to, but your listener might not. And then C, like, what were some of the components actually getting there?
Yeah.
So
yeah, well, that's good. It's fun to talk about. I got a call from a pastor who's planting a new church in Florida about a month ago, and he said, "If you could only give me one piece of advice, what would it be?" And I said, "It's the team. It's the team. It's the team. Your team. If you assemble the right team." And you get them rowing in the same direction, they will take you farther, way farther than you, not just than you ever could on your own, but they'll take you farther than you ever imagined you could go.
Yeah.
So I just really believe in the team so much. Lencioni, I didn't know what a healthy team meant. I didn't even know what it meant. I couldn't have spelled out the components of it. And in this best-selling work that he did, which is now well over, it's probably 25 years old.
Yeah.
He maps out in a brilliant way, complete with all kinds of exercises and sort of models for you to follow, how to achieve healthy team. We have followed this as a roadmap, and that's how we've gotten it. And what's interesting and fascinating to me is as well known as this book is in all the circles that I'm in, I still meet business leaders and business owners and executive level people in organizations today who have never heard of this work. And when you poke around and ask questions, probing questions about their organizational structure and particularly about their organizational health, if they're willing to answer those questions, you'll find out that most of the time their teams are completely dysfunctional, completely a mess.
Yeah.
And I've been able to help some of those organizations, and sometimes they brought me in and asked me to come and lead them in five dysfunctions. These are not all faith-based organizations, but this material that Lencioni teaches has a universal application, at least in Western culture. I have no idea how it works in Eastern culture, but in our culture, it has universal application. So I would love to walk through some of these components that Lencioni talks about.
Yeah.
So he builds a triangle. And at the bottom of the triangle is obviously the widest part, and as you move up, it gets narrower and narrower. And the bottom part is the foundation. The foundation of every team is vulnerability-based trust. This means that you are willing to call each other out, that you're willing to tell each other the truth, and you can handle it. So let me give you the best example of vulnerability-based trust that has functioned in my life or on my team. Our team, the one you referenced a minute ago, is what we call the SLT. It's the Strategic Leadership Team. And I'm just going to use some raw language here. This is my team. I assembled this team. I personally asked everyone to serve on this team. I put it together, and there has been some movement in and out of it over the years, but it is the most effective team I have ever been a part of, and it is. And this is not to take away from the staff of PCC, who is an incredibly hardworking, dedicated, fully committed group of people. They love our church. They bleed our church. They're making our church happen. But it is the SLT that is providing the strategic leadership to our church out of the context of a team.
Yeah.
So the best example of vulnerability-based trust, this is the ability to speak truth, receive truth. I was backstage many years ago. I'm a words guy, and words are my thing, and I'm good at it. And so when you're good at it, you have the ability to sort of take a step back, maybe not put in your full effort.
Rest on your laurels,
and it still be pretty good. So I was backstage one day, and I can't remember the exact context, but I was doing a message, whatever. This has been 10 or 15 years ago. And Beth Stoddard, who was a member of my team for a long time, she'd recently retired, and she said these words to me. She said, "You you're not honoring your gift." That was it. That was all she said. She didn't wag her finger. She didn't yell. She just said, "You're not honoring your gift." And what she was saying was, you're not giving this its full due. You're better than this. You're resting on good, but you could produce so much better work, and you know it.
Yeah.
But the reason I bring up the story is not to talk about my laziness,
right?
But to talk about her willingness to tell me the truth, the hard truth that I needed to hear. It was a defining moment, by the way, for me and for her and for our relationship and for my work and all kinds of things.
Yeah.
But it was born out of vulnerability-based trust, which we had worked hard to cultivate. Because, Lencioni says, teams that don't trust each other don't say what needs to be said in terms of decision-making, which leads to the next dysfunction, which is absence of conflict.
Yeah.
So most people view conflict as a bad thing. But if you think about this, we're in a meeting and we throw a problem on the table and we say, okay, we'll take a church. Our church is growing, so I'm going to use a problem that we don't have. But let's say that there's a church out there or any organization out there, and your growth is not really good. Maybe you're not growing at all. Maybe you're even shrinking back, like you're getting smaller. And so you go to your team, your leadership team, and you say, our problem is we're not growing. And we need to figure out, how do we get to the place where we're growing again? If you don't have vulnerability-based trust, then people on the team can't look across the table and say, well, Bob, the product that you're producing is not good.
Right.
Or we've invented a great product that people don't want. Or we're not responding to what's happening culturally around us. What we used to produce was helpful 10 years ago, but the world has moved on without us and we refuse to change. People don't want to say any of that stuff because they don't trust.
So trust, yeah.
That if I say it, somebody's going to get mad, somebody's going to quit, somebody's going to fire me, somebody's going to yell, somebody's going to shut down, somebody's going to walk out. If we don't have trust, we're not going to say the hard thing because we don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Or worse, we do know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And we know all those things. We can't tell the truth because I might get fired or all the things. So we have to work hard to cultivate trust. And there's a whole mechanism to building trust. And it's not trust falls and rope courses.
Right.
There is a whole mechanism to say, how do we, over a period of time, learn to trust each other? And Lencioni maps this all out. We did all of his exercises. We still do his exercises today to make sure that we continue to cultivate trust with each other because it's the key. So once you have trust, vulnerability-based trust, then you can have real conflict. And because without real conflict, if everybody doesn't get if everybody doesn't get to speak, if everybody doesn't say what they really think, then you have the next level of dysfunction, which he calls absence. I think it's called absence of commitment. It is a lack of commitment.
Yeah.
And here's why. So Elijah, you're sitting in a meeting and you're afraid to speak. You're like, man, I'm definitely not saying this because last time I said this idea, everybody in the room yelled at me and told me it was the dumbest thing they'd ever heard, and I wasn't treated with respect. So I'm not saying it this time. So then the team makes a decision, and the leader of the team looks around and says, "Everybody good?" And Elijah says, "Oh yeah, I'm good." But he's not really good,
right? Because
he didn't do the conflict. Well, what happens? So now the leader thinks we've all made a decision. We're all committed. But Elijah's not really committed. He always thought it was a dumb idea, but he didn't feel like he could say that it was a dumb idea.
Yeah.
So when he walks out of the room, he's not really rowing with the rest of the team. And that creates a lack of commitment.
Yeah.
So in order to get to commitment, you got to have a full in-on conflict. Like everybody's got to be able to speak, which is, as the leader, it's the leader's job to mine for conflict. So if I'm in a meeting with my team, and we're at the point where we feel like, hey, maybe we're close to a decision, and I notice that Tony hasn't said anything, I'm going to say, Tony, we haven't heard from you.
Yeah.
We can't do this without you. What are you thinking? I've done that plenty of times and had a person, whoever it was, speak up in that moment and say something that changed the entire trajectory, something that the rest of the team hadn't even thought about.
Yeah.
The leader must make sure everyone fully participates. Then you get to the place where you have all-in commitment. So you got trust, conflict, commitment. Out of commitment, you have accountability.
Yep.
And accountability is really important because most people think accountability is top-down. So accountability is the boss says, hey, man, you got to do this better. You're not doing your job. You're coming to meetings late. You're missing too much work, whatever. Most people think accountability is top-down. But what Lencioni teaches is that accountability is really peer-to-peer. Mm-hmm. So it's really what Beth did with me that day when she said, you're not honoring your gift. She was holding me accountable for something that she saw. That's important. That's peer-to-peer accountability. So now, let's say a member of our team, this doesn't happen. So I'll pick a hypothetical. It doesn't happen with our team, but it happens plenty of places, and it could happen with our team. Let's say that there was a member of our team who habitually came late. Like every week, they were late.
Yeah.
It's not just my job as the team leader to name it. And by the way, this is not a reprimand. You, as a member of the team, could go to, let's pick a person, Angie, and say, Angie, I noticed that you've been late to this meeting the last few times. How can I help?
Right.
Right? We're not trying to beat each other up. We're trying to help each other. And it's bringing awareness, and it's having the willingness to have this conversation. Interestingly, I'm going to tell this is a real time story. We did this. You remember recently we had a meeting. We had a team meeting with all the worship coordinators.
Yeah, you had that at your. Yeah. I wasn't there. I wasn't there.
You and I were in another meeting, and it was about the planning ahead. It was about planning for future Sundays. I can't remember what the context of that meeting was. Anyway, and we were talking about how can we do this better. Anyway, this is what I remember of it. You said we went around the room and we talked about what we could do better, what were our strengths, and what we could do better. And you said you're not always here. You said sometimes we need an answer to a question, and you're not at the meeting. Do you remember what was that meeting about?
We were doing. It was a teaching team.
Oh, it was a teaching team. That's right.
Teaching team.
That's right.
And we were talking about basically what we could improve on in our sort of teaching ability.
Yes.
It was basically a strengths and weakness.
It was basically strengths and weakness.
one
So
of
we
these
went around the
exercises.
circle and we said, name everybody from your perspective, what do you feel like is each person's strength
Yeah.
in terms of the teaching moment, and what is the weakness or area they need to improve or whatever.
Yeah.
And you said to me, sometimes, we've got questions we need answered and you're not around. That's trust. You trusted that I could take that.
Yeah.
Interestingly, last week we were out of town and Susan says, "Are you going to the Looking Ahead meeting?" And I said, "I'm absolutely not missing that meeting."
Yeah.
Because I heard Elijah, and he wasn't trying to hurt me. He's trying to help me.
Yeah.
That's trust. So we were able to take trust. They put me in the room. We're able to have though the point was it was accountability. We had accountability. We were able to tell each other the real thing. And then you get to the top of the pyramid, which is inattention to results.
Yeah.
And so results, most people start there. They just say, let's just go after results. And they don't pay any attention to the cultivating of the health of the team. And then they wonder how come they don't get results.
Yeah.
Results, this is what most people don't get. Results begin with trust.
Yeah.
They don't begin with charts and thermometers and numbers. They start with trust. If you want results, start cultivating trust. That's the starting place for how you get there.
Yeah.
And work your way up the pyramid. We have done the hard work. And when people come now to our team, to our staff team or to our church from other places, they usually marvel. And I this sounds like I'm bragging. I don't mean to be. I think we just did the hard work. We certainly didn't invent these principles. They usually marvel at that. Oftentimes people will say, I've never experienced anything like this. Internally, this is the most healthy thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
It does not mean that we don't have things that are broken.
Sure.
We do have things that we're not perfect. But we have really worked hard to cultivate a healthy team. And trust is where we spend the lion's share of our time, because if you fix that, the rest of it becomes kind of easier, which is why we invest a lot of time with each other. Our SLT goes away on a retreat, usually twice a year. And it took Lenny Harris. Lenny's our director of operations, and Lenny is very focused and he's very linear.
Yeah.
And so it took him a while. Lenny would come with you remember this? He'd come with this 10-page agenda. We'd show up on a Sunday night to this retreat. We're exhausted. We've killed ourselves. It's Sunday. We've done all the things that Sundays do. We show up at this retreat. It's 7 o'clock. We're just trying to eat dinner and keep one eye open because one eye's already closed. And Lenny pulls out an agenda and he's like, "We're going till 10:30 tonight.
Let's go."
We're like, No,
we're not.
No, we're not.
Yeah.
And so it took him a while to realize that we weren't going to do 20 hours of work on this 20-hour retreat. We were going to spend we were going to do some work now.
For sure.
But we're going to spend a bunch of time just being together, sometimes in a guided way and sometimes in a very organic way, because trust is everything. And we have to spend time together and we have to cultivate real relationships in order for us to trust each other. And it is productive to do that. It is not non-productive time. It is uber productive time.
Right.
And that's where I think a lot of people miss the boat when it comes to team building.
Yeah, because I think with Lencioni's argument would be, if you don't do that, the rest of the work that you feel like you're doing is really for naught.
It's wasted.
Because that's
right.
really why you're wasting the time.
That's
Not
right.
that one leads to the other.
That's
you
right.
have to have the trust to actually make this work valuable. And it's funny because Lenny comes from the corporate world,
That's right.
Where by and large, it's not every organization,
Sure.
but the general feeling is that the pyramid's almost kind of flipped, right?
That's right.
You get
Totally.
the results first.
That's right.
And that's what's going to earn you the trust.
That's right.
At some point down the road.
That's right.
And it just doesn't work that way. So he at some point had to trust that you knew what you were talking
That's
about.
right. And he's bought in now.
Oh,
I mean, he's totally bought in now.
Yeah.
It just
I
took
still
him a
think
while.
it irks him a little bit. Sometimes he probably sits there and is like, we could be
What
doing
are we
some
doing?
work right now.
You know he's thinking that.
Yeah. But he's definitely struck a great balance of
Mm-hmm.
keeping us on the schedule, because you could go too far.
You
We just don't
can.
get
Yes,
anything
you
done.
can. Yes, you can.
So he does a good job of that, but also realizing that
Yes.
no, we're not wasting time, like you said.
Well, and especially with my personality, because I'm a highly relational person, and I just like hanging out with people that I love and love being with, and it would be easy for and work is hard.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh yeah.
so it'd be easy for me, just say, let's just sit here and shoot the breeze, forever. You do need a guy like Lenny to say, hey guys, do we have enough
Something
trust?
to actually
Can we
do.
actually
Yeah,
do some work
exactly,
now?
Y'all need to trust me now. We got to get to work. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, we definitely do work hard. That's a lot of fun. Well, like I said, we're going to have a lot. like with any of the subjects we're going to cover on this podcast, there's so much to be said about it.
That's right.
You have a lot to say about it from your experience. And I imagine the next however long, it might not surprise you already at this point to know that we haven't quite exactly mapped out just how long this particular series is going to be.
Right.
But I think we'll do a deep dive
Yes.
into this, particularly a lot of the spiritual implications
Yes.
of leadership, because as you mentioned already on this episode, Jesus being the ultimate leader.
That's right.
Talk about flipping the paradigm on his head.
That's right.
He did that, and it still is controversial to this day, the idea of servant leadership. But we'll dive into that and a lot more as we go throughout this series. So as always, thank you guys for listening. Do all the things, share, subscribe, share it with somebody. We're really excited for this series. Brian, really excited for what you have to say. So thank you again for getting us started on this one. If you have any questions or any comments or any of that, engage with us, reach out to us, and we'd love to hear it. And it could, as it did in the last series, help shape some of what we do here. So thanks for your time, and see you again soon.